Something is changing in July 2026 that nobody in Washington is leading with. Nobody in the mainstream financial press is covering the way it deserves to be covered. And nobody at the Social Security Administration is going to call you to explain before it takes effect and starts affecting your money. And I want to be honest with you right from the start of this video because you deserve that honesty. This is not good news. This is not a silver lining story. This is not one of those videos that opens with a warning and then pivots to reassure you that everything is fine. Everything is not fine for a specific segment of the senior population starting in July, and the people who are going to be hurt the most are not the ones who were careless or uninformed generally. They're the ones who simply did not know that July 2026 was a month they needed to pay attention to because nothing in their mailbox, nothing in their Medicare correspondence, and nothing in the letters they received from SSA told them that a set of changes was coming that would directly reduce what they receive, restrict what they can access, and permanently alter decisions they thought were already settled. I have been covering Social Security and senior financial policy on this channel for a long time, and what is happening in July is one of the more serious convergences of simultaneous policy shifts I have seen land on seniors all at once. Today, I'm going to walk you through every part of it, not to frighten you, but because the seniors who know what is coming in July still have time, right now, to do something about it. The ones who find out in August do not. Before we go any further, subscribe right now and turn on the bell. I need you to understand something specific about why that matters today more than it usually does. What I am covering in this video is the beginning of a series of changes that unfold across the third and fourth quarters of 2026. July is where it starts, but it does not end in July. There are follow-on effects in September, in October, and heading into the 2027 planning window that build directly on what happens this month. The seniors subscribed to this channel are going to get each piece of that as it develops in time to respond. The ones who are not subscribed are going to get fragments of it from different places, out of sequence, and without the context that makes the information actually usable. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's go through exactly what July brings and exactly what you can still do about it. The first change hitting seniors in July 2026 involves Social Security overpayment recovery, and it is the one that has the most immediate and visceral impact on monthly income for the seniors it affects. The Social Security Administration has resumed its full overpayment clawback policy after a period of reduced enforcement. And starting in July, the SSA is authorized to withhold up to 100% of a beneficiary's monthly Social Security payment to recover an outstanding overpayment balance. Read that again, 100%. If the SSA has determined that you were overpaid at any point in the history of your benefit, and if you have not set up a repayment arrangement or successfully appealed the overpayment finding, they can take your entire check in July and apply it to the balance they claim you owe. This is not a theoretical possibility. This is an active policy that the SSA began notifying affected beneficiaries about in the spring, and that goes into full enforcement effect in July. The seniors most at risk are those who receive a notice of overpayment in the past 12 to 18 months and did not respond to it, those who set up a repayment arrangement that lapsed, and those who filed an appeal that was denied and did not pursue further recourse. If you received any correspondence from the SSA in the past 18 months that mention overpayment, a balance owed, or a request for repayment, that letter is directly relevant to what happens to your July check. Find it, read it, call 1-800-772-1213 immediately and ask about the status of your overpayment case and what options are still available to you before July. If you have grounds for a waiver, meaning the overpayment was not your fault and recovering it would cause financial hardship, file Form SSA 632, the request for waiver of overpayment recovery, before the July enforcement date. An approved waiver eliminates the debt entirely. A repayment agreement, even for a small monthly amount, protects your check from being withheld in full while the arrangement is in force. Do not ignore this. A senior living on $1,400 a month who loses that entire check in July because they did not respond to an overpayment notice is not in a position to absorb that loss and catch up later. The time to act is right now, before July arrives. The second change involves Medicare Advantage plans, and it is one that is going to affect millions of seniors who enrolled in Medicare Advantage believing their coverage was stable, their network was intact, and their out-of-pocket costs were predictable. Starting in July 2026, a wave of Medicare Advantage plan benefit reductions that were approved during the annual plan filing process earlier this year take effect. These reductions were approved quietly, buried in plan documents that most enrollees never read, and they are significant. Across dozens of the most widely enrolled Medicare Advantage plans in the country, benefits that seniors have been relying on are being reduced or eliminated entirely effective July 1st. Dental coverage that covered a specific set of procedures is being narrowed. Vision allowances that covered a certain dollar amount annually are being reduced. Over-the-counter benefit cards that loaded a monthly allowance for health-related purchases are being cut or eliminated on specific plans. And in some cases, provider networks are being restructured, meaning doctors and specialists that were in-network in June will be out-of-network in July, and seniors who see those providers will suddenly face out-of-network cost-sharing that was not part of their financial plan for the year. The reason this is particularly harmful is timing. The standard Medicare open enrollment period runs from October 15th to December 7th, with coverage changes taking effect January 1st. That means seniors whose July benefit reductions make their current plan unworkable are being told to wait 4 months for the next opportunity to switch, while absorbing higher costs and reduced coverage in the meantime. However, there's a Medicare Advantage special enrollment period that applies when a plan reduces its benefits mid-year in ways that materially affect a beneficiary. Call 1-800-MEDICARE, which is 1-800-633-4227, and ask specifically whether the benefit changes taking effect on your plan in July qualify you for a special enrollment period that would allow you to switch plans before October. Do not assume the answer is no without asking. The criteria are specific, and a Medicare counselor can tell you within a single phone call whether your situation qualifies. If it does, you have a window to move to a plan with intact benefits rather than absorbing reduced coverage for the rest of the year. The third change is one that falls most heavily on seniors who are still working part-time or who have income from sources outside of Social Security, and it involves a recalibration of the earnings test thresholds combined with a change in how the SSA processes earnings reports for beneficiaries who are below full retirement age. In 2026, the annual earnings limit for beneficiaries below full retirement age is $23,400. For every $2 earned above that limit, the SSA withholds $1 from your Social Security benefit. That rule has existed for years, and most people who are affected by it know it. What is changing in July is the enforcement mechanism. The SSA is transitioning to a more frequent earnings verification cycle that cross-references beneficiary earnings data with IRS records on a quarterly basis rather than annually. What that means in practice is that a senior who earns above the threshold in the first half of 2026 may begin seeing benefit withholdings in July rather than waiting for the annual reconciliation that would previously have caught the overage at tax time. For seniors who budget their monthly income carefully, a mid-year benefit withholding that they were not anticipating is a serious disruption. And for seniors who did not realize their part-time earnings were approaching the threshold, this July recalculation may be the first time they become aware there is a problem. If you are below full retirement age, receiving Social Security, and working in any capacity, add up your earnings from January through June of 2026 right now. If that number is approaching or has exceeded $11,700, which is half of the annual $23,400 limit, your July check may be affected by withholding. Call SSA before July and ask them to walk you through how your current earnings trajectory affects your second half payments. Understanding the number in advance allows you to adjust either your work schedule or your budget before the withholding hits rather than discovering it when a check arrives smaller than expected with no explanation attached. The fourth change is the one that is hardest to talk about, and the one I want to make sure every person watching this video hears clearly. Starting in July 2026, the SSA is implementing the first phase of a beneficiary verification sweep that will require a subset of Social Security recipients to confirm their continued eligibility through updated documentation. The sweep is being applied to beneficiaries whose records have not been verified or updated within a defined period, and it is being rolled out starting with disability beneficiaries and SSI recipients before expanding to other benefit categories later in the year. A beneficiary who receives a verification request and does not respond within the response window risks having their benefits suspended pending review. The suspension is not permanent if you respond promptly and your eligibility is confirmed. But the suspension is immediate and it means no check until the review is complete, which can take weeks. If you receive any correspondence from the SSA in July that asks you to confirm your identity, confirm your living situation, confirm your banking information, or submit updated documentation of any kind, treat it as urgent and respond within the time frame specified on the letter. Do not set it aside. Do not assume it is a scam without verifying first. Call 1-800-772-1213, read them the reference number on the letter, and confirm that the request is legitimate before you respond. If it is legitimate, respond immediately. If it is not, report it to the SSA fraud line at 1-800-269-0271 and do not provide any personal information to the source that contacted you. Here is what every senior needs to do before July arrives. Check whether you have any unresolved SSA overpayment correspondence and call SSA immediately to understand your options, including the SSA 632 waiver if the overpayment was not your fault. Call 1-800-Medicare and ask whether the benefit reductions taking effect on your Medicare Advantage plan in July qualify you for a special enrollment period. Add up your 2026 earnings to date if you are below full retirement age and call SSA to understand how your second half payments will be affected. And watch your mail carefully in July because any SSA verification request that goes unanswered puts your benefit at immediate risk. July 2026 is a month that is going to separate the seniors who are prepared from the seniors who are not. You are watching this video, which means you still have time to be in the first group. Subscribe, share this with every senior you know, and I will see you in the next one.